Hello, everybody. My name is Ami Moyal, and thank you for joining us on Virtual JCC today. Today's a really, really special day, and I'm very excited because we are talking about podcasts for children specifically. As you guys may know, podcasts have been growing through the roof, and we know a lot of parents listen to podcasts, but what about your children? You know, talk about those long drives to Florida, the cottage, whether you're sitting outside, whether you're laying in bed. Podcasts are for me especially just terrific to listen to, and a great way to engage with so many different books, programs, and many things, many topics we're about to get into. But today we're actually joined with very special Maggie McGuire, CEO of Pinna, an audio streaming service for children. She's going to talk about her podcast recommendations for different age groups, and we're going to learn a lot more about podcasts. So Maggie, welcome, and thank you for being here and joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to join this conversation today. For sure.
And so for those who aren't too sure about podcasts, what are podcasts all about?
Yeah, so podcasts in the adult space have been around for 15 plus years and becoming much more ubiquitously popular. But podcasts for kids have been quite nascent. There hasn't really been a huge surge of activity around producing podcasts for kids until just recently. I'm the CEO of Pinna, and Pinna is the first and only audio streaming service designed just for kids 3 to 12. And so we bring podcasts, audiobooks, and music into one place where kids can discover and listen safely. Podcasts, as defined differently than an audiobook or music audio format, really allow for creators to span a whole host of both fiction and nonfiction topics and do it in a way that's super different than just listening to one narrator narrate a story. There's all kinds of podcasts. So we have a science podcast. There are improv comedy podcasts. There are podcasts that tell a story over a series of episodes, almost like a video program could, only without the visuals. And so we can talk a little bit about what kinds of podcasts exist in the world for kids and break that down by age and topic.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like parents are just trying to find things for their kids to do in today's day and age. That's not involving screen time, right? That's a big part. So,
yeah.
We're going to get to like our different recommendations on different age groups and what they can listen to. But tell me more. I want to hear a little bit more about Pinna and how you got started with that.
Yeah, so we really believed that there was an opportunity to create more space in a kid's day for non-screen activity. We don't think that we're going to replace videos or video games or even print books. Those are all valuable mediums for kids. But we did believe that there was an opportunity to create an experience that taps into kids' imaginations in a new and different way. Audio has been around for a very long time, but to really tap it in a new and different way was one of our objectives. So our mission is to spark imagination. So we call the programming on Pinna imagination-led entertainment. Kids are creating the pictures and the ideas in their head as they're listening. And we also have a mission to get kids activated in a new way beyond sort of the passive viewing or screen-based media. So we want to activate kids' ability to activate a conversation, giggle, guess, wonder, puzzle, participate. And as we think about those action words, those are drivers of the kinds of programming we create. So we've created interactive game show podcasts. We've created guessing game shows where kids are shouting out the answers to questions. We've got podcasts on our platform that tee up big questions that kids are asking and kids debate. We're almost modeling what it means to have a really active debate and tee up a conversation at home across the dinner table. We've got podcasts that are inviting listeners in to solve a mystery with the sleuths in the story. So all different ways to activate a kid's imagination, draw them in, and get them thinking and doing while listening.
For sure. My gosh. All I'm thinking right now is that if I were in grade school and I had this resource, I'd be like an A+ student. I'm gonna get my mom in here. She's got yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, I took some time to take a look at the site, and we'll have the site pop up for you towards later in this podcast. But I saw some amazing books that I grew up reading, like Captain Underpants. I read them all. You know, Clifford, the Big Red Dog. I mean, you know, Giraffes Can't Dance. Like, these are like kids' books, but I want to dive into your recommendations. You know, we have different age groups. Starting off with children ages 3 to 5. What are some podcasts for parents to?
Yeah. You mentioned some really beloved brands that kids love. I love that you're a huge Captain Underpants fan. That's so fun. So in addition to that beautiful catalog of audiobooks based on some of those beloved characters, we do have a pretty deep and robust library of podcasts. And when we talk about podcasts for littlest ones, toddlers, 3 to 5-year-olds, a lot of people questioned us in the beginning, like, you're really going to create a podcast? Like, is it a news podcast for 3 to 5-year-olds? And we're like, no. We're going to create experiences that really tap into developmentally where a child is from 3 to 5. So we know that their listening stamina is shorter than, you know, they can listen to 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes versus, 45-minute long episodes. And they're not interested in news. So as an example, for 3 to 5-year-olds, we created a show called Quentin and Elfie's ABC Adventures. There are 26 episodes. And in every episode, Quentin, the babysitter, and Elfie walk down a magical sidewalk and go on an adventure where they experience a unique letter of the alphabet from A to Z. So in our first episode, they go to the amusement park. By the end of the 26 episodes, they're at the zoo. So there's an episode for every letter of the alphabet. And in every episode, as part of their discovery of the letter A or B or C, we have staged opportunities for those characters to solve problems and unlock the world of letters. There's a unique song in every single episode that reinforces the learning of that letter and the phonetic awareness of that letter. And by the end of the listening to the series, your littlest one will have not only gone on a fantastic journey and story with Quentin and Elfie, but they will have learned their letters from A to Z.
It's so cool. I mean, I'm thinking about it like, from also, it goes so much beyond audio. And I think when you said that, it really hit home because, taking a look at the website, there are resources for teachers. There are lesson plans. There are, coloring sheets. There's so many ways and avenues to go about it. And it's just all so exciting. I don't know if I said this earlier, but if anyone has any questions for Maggie, feel free to leave them in the comments and we'd be happy to address them if you're looking for recommendations. But moving forward, how about children ages 6 to 8?
Yeah, so developmentally, kids 6 to 8, as moms out there and parents and caregivers know, are starting to gain a little bit of independence. They're now school-aged. By the time they're 8, they're developing a real sense of humor. They understand sarcasm. They understand wit. And so our programming for 6 to 8-year-olds starts to get at that participatory element even more so than our preschool programming. So some thoughts about that. We have a show called Kyle's Wild World. Kids really get into their subject domain fascinations between 6 and 8. So animals are one topic that almost every kid universally loves. And Kyle, he hosts a podcast where he invites the most extraordinary animals of the world to be his guests in every episode. So he has a podcast studio in his garage. And in any given episode, you're meeting the, hippopotamus and giraffe and alligators who come on and talk a little bit about what it's like to be an alligator, what it's like to be a hippopotamus. And he also has a field reporter, Gail. There's a segment called Gail on the Go, and he throws to Gail in every podcast episode and lets Gail talk about, she's in a unique habitat in the world, and she reports live from the field. She's in the wilderness, she's in the jungle. So it's a great show for kids who are super into animals and who love adventure. We also have a show, where we want to really tap into that participatory element. Extra Blurt Junior is for kids, 5 to 8, and Extra Blurt is for 9 to 12-year-olds, and it's a game show. So imagine, and in a half an hour, in a 20-minute to half an hour episode, there are probably 4 or 5 segments then that our hosts host, and they are tapping into trivia around a theme in every single episode. And there's all kinds of challenges that they pose to the listeners. And, one of the things to know about Pinna podcasts is before we even produce a series, we do kid testing. So we have a hypothesis. Oh, kids are going to love this game show. They're going to be shouting out the answers. Well, not until we actually see that work do we then say, yep, we've got the right idea here. So when we did kid testing with Extra Blurt and Extra Blurt Junior game show, the kids were incredibly animated. I mean, they're shouting out the answers before the hosts can reveal them. It's a totally fun, interactive game show that the whole family can enjoy, which we really think is a ton of fun.
Amazing.
Those are my recos.
No, that all sounds incredible. I mean, to have anything that's like tested, like, in Canada, we have a lot of Canadian Tire commercials where they go, this lawnmower is tested by Canadians. That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's very cool. And it shows how much you guys care about what you do and the results of that. It's amazing. We have a question coming in from, I actually told my fiance to tune in because she was loving what was going on. But here we go. Many children associate reading with work and often become distant from reading for educational tasks. How can Pinna promote engagement and interest in reading and comprehension?
That's such an awesome question. Please thank Shira for that question. Audio is a great catalyst and motivator for reading, both at the pre-reading level when you have, toddlers who are not yet reading independently. Understanding the structure of story, building vocabulary and comprehension skills and background knowledge is all a part of reading aloud to your kids or having your kids listen to stories or engage in stories. As kids become independent readers, and this is one of the most difficult times in a kid's learning life when they're moving from someone has been reading to me and I've heard stories beautifully told to now I have to read out loud. It's very, very intimidating. Listening to stories read aloud or via audio experiences models fluency and expression. So do you remember when you were first trying to put those few words together and read a sentence? What is intonation? What is expression? How do I read that so it doesn't sound like the cat sat on the mat, right? You've heard a lot of people tell stories and you know that there's a level of expression that comes with reading a sentence or a question. Audio is a great model for kids. Additionally, it is a great vocabulary builder. So there have been many studies over the years, one of them called the word gap, that recognize that kids who experience multiple forms of conversation at the table, being read aloud to, listening to audio before they enter school at kindergarten or preschool age, come to school with millions more words than kids who have not been read aloud to, talk to, who haven't had the opportunity to be exposed to rich, deep storytelling. So you're building a whole vocabulary, behind the scenes as kids learn language. And so there's, it's also for those kids who struggle to read, we have seen, especially as you get into the older years, some kids who may be diagnosed with dyslexia or other barriers to reading as fluently as they want to. Audio is a great medium for accessibility. Think about it. If you struggle to read independently on your own and all your friends are reading that Captain Underpants book or whatever it is that interests you, an audio version of that lets you stay in that world, lets you talk about the story, makes that story accessible to you, despite the fact that you may not be ready to read it alone on your own. Mm-hmm. So many ways that audio can augment learning.
For sure. I think that you hit the nail on the head, and it sparked something with me because I have a very close cousin of mine, and she spent about 3 years, I think that she was about 6 or 7, when she actually went over to Israel, and she spent 3 years in Israel. And I went to Hebrew school my whole life growing up. She picked up on the language almost within 3-4 months. Wow. Something that I couldn't do in 8 years of learning. So it just speaks volumes on, audio and how that can really, trigger a whole different learning experience.
Totally.
Than talk about reading in comparison.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool. I in my personal life, I actually listen to a lot of podcasts before going to bed. I feel like it's so hard because I'm glued to the screen and I'm like
Yeah.
watching video, I'm on social media. But then for me, a good transition was listen to a podcast, you put your phone down,
Yep.
and then it'll get you in a more relaxed state, but you're still getting that, it's like kind of like
Yeah.
a medium.
Yeah, what's really cool, we actually tapped into that very need, bedtime, especially for younger kids and for older kids who've been really active all day and have been plugged in to have something that sort of starts to decompress you and disconnect you from the media world and from your active day. We have a couple podcasts on our network that we have gotten great feedback from parents. They use them at bedtime in addition to storytelling based podcasts. So the three that I highly recommend if people are looking for a way to sort of calm your kids, we have a mindfulness podcast called Mindfulness for Kids, Relax and Be Happy. There is another podcast that really is just like short stories to calm and chill yourself. Great use at bedtime or at nap time, or even like just after school when you just need a break and you want to do a little like short of meditation. It's called Peace Out. Super soothing, just takes you to another world and gets you to visualize and think. And it's really intended to help everybody just calm down, relieve any anxiety. And then we just brought in from the Australian Broadcasting Company a very cool preschool podcast called Bedtime Explorers. And these are wonderful little fantasy stories that get kids into the mood of relaxing and ultimately falling asleep. It's a really cool podcast.
I'm going to check those out for sure. It really sounds terrific. And we have a lot of programming currently, in the past, coming up that help kids deal with anxiety. And that's a big thing that we want to focus on, especially during this pressing time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I mean, if so many podcasts, you can find them all at pinna.fm, and you can find a lot more information on the Pinna and the great things that they're doing over there. But Maggie, I just really appreciate you coming in and sharing all this lovely information with us. Helping kids deal with so many problems, parents with helping their kids, take them away from screen time and combat a lot of the boredom that we're having these days.
Awesome. I'm so happy to have been here. Great to talk to you today. And let me know if you have any other questions as a follow-up. I'm always happy to help you out.
Great. Maggie, thank you so much. And we will be joined with some excellent program coming out throughout the day. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.
Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.